in that interview with Christian with JQ, he talked about having been on teams that have made deep runs, and he said, "I've been to the Sweet 16, and I've got to get past it."
Yeah.
Did that not kind of fire y'all up a little bit?
No, and that's what I was going to ask TJ. Yes, it did. Absolutely. And I know in the Discord, other people got fired up by that. But yeah, hearing him say, I know what it takes to get there, and I've got to get over the hump. Like, I mean, it feels like this is the year.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I felt like last year was the year.
Well, it's given the situation after you got there, but going into it in an 8-9 with Purdue being like in that scenario, it didn't really feel like.
I could not.
Also, I mean, before the season started, people were questioning whether that team was even going to really make.
Who?
All you had was Kendrick and DeAndre, and then a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, man.
I guess that's true.
I mean,
thought they were a tournament.
There were definitely people talking about them being an NIT team.
Regardless, with Kendrick and DeAndre alone, I thought they were going to be the second team out of the American.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
like I thought by default the American was going to put in two
not
teams.
making the Sweet 16.
No.
I mean, I'm talking preseason expectations.
I'm with you now.
This team is much more talented, much more experienced, has been there. You have several players that have played in the NCAA tournament.
Dramatically.
Like, even as great as Kendrick Davis was, he had never been there.
Yeah, and I blame more Bakovic, the head coach from SMU. I can't think of that guy's real name.
Jankovic.
Yeah, Jankovic.
You better not say a bad word about him.
Kendrick's going to come after you, bro.
Dude.
Don't mess with Jankovic.
And Jankovic is a big Tiger guy now. Well, he was last year.
Yeah.
Guess it doesn't matter anymore.
I will say, and I would hate for it to be this way because you're building just like a chef's kiss of a roster. But I would hate for us to build up this high expectation of a Sweet 16 almost seems like the floor, and then like you don't make it.
And that's the reality. It's year 6. You got your most talented, most experienced roster. You add DeAndre and this team doesn't make the second weekend, I would say that's a disappointment.
Well, we talked about this not that long ago. Like, this is the most talented Tiger roster since, and I guess it's more talented today, but I think the answer still stays the same. It's the national championship team, right?
I mean, it depends on how you look at it.
National championship contender team.
Like,
Let me just clarify.
People could argue that the Duran Imani roster was pretty talented.
They're freshmen, though.
I know, but you had DeAndre in there. You had Landers. You had you still had some experience.
You would honestly think that roster.
I didn't say me. I'm just saying there's people out there.
I'm asking you.
Yeah, it's probably.
You gonna make the Tyreek argument?
I was gonna say it could have been that year too, maybe. I mean, you also had the Adonis class,
the Chris, the Joe.
Again, if it's a roster full of freshmen, I can't.
I see where you're coming from. No, I mean it's. We've talked about it before.
The Anthony Davis class is like the only one I could think of that has
top to bottom.
Done anything.
It's the best class or the best roster we've had in a while.
Kenneth, what do you think?
I mean, I agree. We talked about this a few weeks ago. If DeAndre gets a waiver, you're talking about 25 years of college basketball experience in that roster,
absurd.
In that starting 5 roster, or starting 5. That's crazy.
That feels illegal.
It's the day and age of college basketball, though, right?
Gosh, if our season slogan isn't something about being dangerous, just a jab at Cal, our basketball marketing team needs work.
It's a tough thing when you are coming into a season with high expectations, knowing that there's only going to be one team, 2 teams really, that will make it to the NCAA championship, that consider their season with the kind of roster that Memphis has right now, a total success. It's tough because you do want to pump the brakes and go, man, when have we ever experienced, other than the 2008 season, a run like what this roster could potentially put together? But I don't think that means we shouldn't.
Yeah,
that we should discount this roster.
I'm not even saying it has. I'm just saying second weekend. Like, you should be able to get out of the first weekend.
Yeah, no, I feel it's so hard to say now because we're so far away
It
from
is,
March,
and-
but like the roster is composed in a way that you should at least make the Sweet 16. Granted, you don't know what kind of buzzsaw you're going to run into. Like,
Right.
there could be, as stupid as FAU is, you could run into an FAU because they were a good team last year. Granted, no matter who won the Memphis FAU game, the road was paved.
Well, that's
to get you pretty far.
Yeah, and that's the problem is with your schedule being so front heavy. If we slip up, and then you run out of
That's a
quality
concern.
wins
That's a
down
concern.
the stretch, you may
has to
get
be.
you get underseeded again.
Yeah.
It's happened the last couple. Like last year, we should not have been in the 8-9 game, and FAU probably shouldn't have been in it either.
Yeah. I wonder, they got in it because of just the strength of schedule.
Yeah, I mean that's
their issue,
back-to-back years. Arguably, we probably should have been seeded better than the 8-9 line.
Yeah, but when we talked about this, I remember us saying like a 7 was like the highest it should have gotten.
I mean,
kinda
looking at
situation.
stuff last year, we could have been a 6.
But you know exactly why they weren't. And
I
it's
know.
Because had they beat Houston the other game, then like, yeah, probably.
But probably maybe not.
So,
It did feel like that season, that seeding came down to the fact that they lost 2 games to Tulane
Yeah.
and 1 game to UCF.
of course.
Yep.
And that's
100%.
and because you look at the games that they won, they should, like non-conference especially. That Texas A&M game turned out to be a massive game for the Tigers, and it makes you wonder, like, what is it about? Like, what do the Tigers need to do in order to be seated higher coming out of the AAC conference? Because I mean, I know they lost a couple of games in the AAC season, the conference schedule, but coming out of that non-con, they were rolling, right? Like they were.
Yeah. But I think that's the problem is it's a lot of it is so heavily weighted down the stretch. And what have you like, and we can't afford to slip up in those Tulane like, granted, you beat them by 40 in the conference tournament. There's too many people that come into a conference tournament and they already have their mindset. Like,
Sure, yeah. I don't know how much
a
the
lot
conference tournament really weighs on anything.
matters to people. So you get swept by Tulane, you lose to UCF. Like,
Yeah, I'm sure there's an algorithm they put together throughout the season, something like
but
that.
this feels like a team. Sure, maybe you drop a game in Boca to FAU, but to like.
That's going to be a good loss if there were
Right.
such
That's
a,
what, but this feels like a team that's not gonna drop 2 games to a Tulane or lose at East Carolina on a random
Sure.
2, right? Like,
Yeah.
just an experienced senior laden team like this. I just don't see losses like that happening.
I don't think that Memphis can lose a conference game and be seated.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought you were just gonna end that
Yeah,
statement there.
Like and be seated and not be like if they lose to FAU on the road, because I don't think FAU is going to be ranked that high. I mean, they do have
no,
a
I absolutely
easy,
expect them to be ranked
They do
high.
have an easy non-conference schedule, absolutely. But I think with Penny has mentioned this numerous times in post-game press conferences and media availabilities, even in this season opening media availability, he talked about it. This conference is just disrespected nationally in terms of seeding.
Sure.
And so,
Oh, yeah.
if you lose
And it's
one,
It's probably only gonna get worse now.
right.
Yeah, I don't know because you're going to have Florida Atlantic's going to come in preseason ranked pretty high, and I don't expect them to lose. I don't know. They're out of conference. I don't know. It could start off Alabama, Duke, Tennessee. Like it could start off just absolutely brutal. But when they go on a 20-game run, I guess they won't go on a 20-game run. But you get my point. Like I could see them completely rebounding, and they're never really dropping very far. Depending
Are
on
they
who
going to
they're
get the
losing
Memphis treatment where Memphis goes on a big run, nothing happens with their ranking, and then they lose one game and it's over? Like, what if they come into Memphis and lose, or what if they lose in Boca
See, that's
to
like
Memphis? Are they going to just fall off the edge of the cliff again?
Yeah, but Memphis was always finding a way to lose the one game they needed to win at the end of the run. Like you smoked Tulsa. Yes, you beat UCF, and then you lost to Wichita State or something like that. I feel like it was always something like that. Like you needed that last win and you weren't able to get it, And then so it's like, oh, we were building faith. Now we drop back off kind of thing.
I don't have their full out of conference schedule, but they are playing Illinois in Madison Square Garden in the Jimmy V Classic this year.
Damn, that's pretty cool. Yeah, you get that win. And then, like, I mean, I don't know how many quad 1 wins or even potential wins they're going to have on their schedule.
I'm kind of with Kenny, though. I think and again, we don't have the conference schedule right now, but I would not be shocked if we came to the point where we're playing them and they're not ranked anymore, or they're like cusp top 25.
That is very possible. You drop to Illinois early on, and then at that point they come to Memphis. Again, we don't know when they're playing us exactly. They could be, I'll make up a number, 12-2.
Yeah.
And potentially unranked because they lost to Illinois, then they lost to some team they probably shouldn't have.
They're playing
Rice.
Bryant, Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, you lose to Eastern Michigan,
Liberty.
without Amani, that's a problem.
Is Earl still at Bryant?
Yeah.
I think
we
so.
need Earl to go off.
I think Liberty could come in and beat them. Honestly, Liberty is a good team. I'm just saying, like, 2019 season with Memphis, they came in highly ranked with that number 1 recruiting class.
Yeah.
Then they had that game, and y'all are so much smarter. Like,
Lost to Georgia.
They lost to Georgia. Then they lost to
You got freaking embarrassed.
Oregon. They got beat by Oregon in 2019, and they just dropped off a cliff. And what it feels like, and I don't know if it's a Memphis thing or if it's a AAC thing, you drop off that cliff once, it is impossible to get back.
Well, we dropped off the cliff, Kenny, because we got beat by 40 at Tulsa as the worst ever loss by a top 10 team to an unranked team.
Well, I think like the same thing happened last year. It was you went on this hot streak, then you lost to Alabama and like in a very exciting game. So it was okay because obviously it's Alabama. They're like a top 5 team at the time. So it was like a good loss. And then you went on this hot streak again, and then you lost to Tulane. And it's like you had to win that game. It felt like for it to matter.
And then you kind of felt like you
and then you
were
started
this, and then you lost to
and then you did it again.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was saying. Like they get on these streaks, and then they lose to this team that's just so far down. Like I don't know what Tulane's Kim Palm ranking is off the top of my head. Like when we lost to them,
I mean, they were around 100-ish. So.
Yeah, like it was just like these great game, win. It's like, man, we're doing hot. We're doing good.
I remember we sat there and
then,
talked about, can they rattle off 20 in a row or whatever they were saying.
And then they kept
literally almost lost at home to, I don't even remember who it was now.
You almost lost at home?
Yeah, we almost lost at home our first conference game at home.
Was that UCF?
No, that was oh man, yeah, I know exactly what game you're talking about. But again, that's why I'm saying I don't think they can lose a
South
conference
Florida.
Yeah.
Tyler went off in the second half, had like 17 in the second half or whatever.
Which is why I'm saying I just don't think they can lose in the conference because I think the conference is number 1 compared to last year, going to be super disrespected. Maybe rightfully so in a large part, but I just think that you can't. It's not like there's a set number of conference games they can win and then drop one and be like, oh, it's okay, not a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if they only lost to FAU in conference, and you swept everybody else, I think you'd be fine. But
I think
obviously you don't want to lose to FAU. I
also
cannot lose to FAU
Oh
twice.
my gosh.
Yeah.
How TJ, in your opinion, has FAU somersaulted over a lot of other teams as like your most aggravating fan base?
Oh, easily. Dude, they are on Twitter, X, whatever they want to call it now. They are all over it, thinking they are so superior. And it's not just in basketball. They think that they have already overcome Memphis in football. I'm like, dude, you just went on like a 5-game win. Like you won 5 games in 3 years or something
Didn't
like
we
that.
just beat them?
Yeah, that's
2 years ago?
It's so annoying. And in basketball, they just think they are so elite because they made this one run. You won this one fluky ass game where there were 6 or 7 different calls. Everyone, not even Memphis fans, like national media people, were up in arms about like what are we talking about? Didn't even let Kendrick land. Like, what's the point of the rule? Like, I feel like I could go on days and days on that one specific game. And they win that one game. And it's not like a thing where they're like, hey, Memphis, great game. You guys are great competitors. I can't wait to see what the future holds between us. Because if they said that, I would respect them. I don't respect FAU fans. I don't. They piss me off so much.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, they'll have a raucous 1,500 in the gymnasium they have down there. And if we come out of that tough environment with a win,
Seriously.
It's national championship or bust if they do that.
No, in all due respect, does FAU's arena hold more than El Marone?
I don't know.
I need to know.
But can you imagine playing your home games in that and then going and playing in the Final Four in the freaking NFL dome?
Hell, the FedEx Forum.
Well, even that.
I'm looking up the arena. I'm curious at this point. Like,
Curious about
what holds more?
You got to stop calling it an arena. I mean, it's a straight up gym.
That's their name.
2,900 multi-seat arena. That's the El Marone.
That may be the exact
That
thing.
is the El Marone, bro. Oh
gosh.
my gosh, that is a trip.
Congrats. Our women play in the same capacity. I don't know. I think our women could probably get more in there. I'll say University of Memphis has El Marone at 2565. Whatever. El Marone's nicer than the Owl's Nest or whatever the hell they call it. Whatever.
The Eleanor R. Baldwin Arena.
I'm gonna call it the Owl's Nest. I don't even know if Owl's Nest.
Do they still have this palm tree court? That is heinous.
Let's hope not. It's like the Oregon Christmas tree court.
Yeah, but it's just a bunch of palm trees.
I actually like Oregon's court. I think it works for them.